everyone get into the right state of mind, the best state of mind for winter retreat. And I think everyone has quite a bit of experience with retreat. But yeah, over the past year, we've been so busy doing different things, going here and there. And so it's good to be reminded of, what we need to think about and the motivation to generate for entering retreat. So we'll start with some prayers. Refuge and bodhicitta for immeasurables.
I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by listening to the Dharma, I will attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and
anger. So let's just sit quietly for a few minutes to let our minds settle down, and then you can bring up in your mind the bodhicitta motivation you generated earlier today. So what kind of attitudes do we have in our mind as we're easing into retreat? Excitement, anticipation, expectations of great experiences, or dread, thinking, oh no, this is going to be like the last retreat where I had all these problems, all these negative feelings coming up. So I think it's better try to have just an open mind and not think that this retreat is going to be like others that we've had, because we never know what is going to come up in our mind. Different things come up at different times, and it's also not good to have expectations. That's kind of a grasping mind, based on our ego. I want to have this or that fantastic experience or realization. I want to get enlightened in this very lifetime. So that's probably about the ego rather than genuine bodhicitta. So we have to be careful about that mind, because if there's an ego and attachment involved, then that actually sets up barriers, obstacles to achieving the actual results that we want to achieve in meditation. It's better to try to have just a fresh, open mind, a mind of adventure, ready for whatever is going to come. And also understand, the real meaning, the real purpose of retreat. So I've probably mentioned this before, but it doesn't hurt to hear it again. Something that Lama Zopa Rinpoche said a long time ago, and I found it very helpful. He said that the real meaning of retreat is retreating from our afflictions, our negative attitudes, attachment, aversion, jealousy, arrogance, ignorance, and so on. So that's what we want to retreat from. And also actions that we do motivated by those afflictions, like the 10 non-virtuous actions, transgressing any precepts that we've taken, and so on. So that's the idea of retreat, is retreating from those things, which is probably quite different than what some people think. I mean, not necessarily here, but in the world, people say, oh, the world is such a difficult place. It's so messy. There's all these awful things going on, all these disturbing people doing disturbing things. I just want to get away. It's disturbing me. Those people are disturbing me. I want to get away from them. So, yeah. And maybe some of us think that way too, I just want a retreat from all of that. So that's understandable, because yes, for sure, there are a lot of disturbing things going on in the world, and it is hard to pay attention to those things and not get disturbed inside. But as Venerable Chudran emphasizes again and again and again, the real problem isn't out there. The problem is here in our own mind. So if we get disturbed by things going on out there, what people are doing and so on, it's because we still have afflictions in our mind, which is normal. I mean, we shouldn't beat ourselves up, blame ourselves for that. We're not enlightened beings, so we need to humbly acknowledge that. And that, we still have these afflictions that we need to look at, recognize, work on. And, the good side, the wonderful side, the beautiful side is that we have access to teachers and teachings going all the way back to the Buddha on how to do this. Now, Buddha once had a mind like ours. He had all these afflictions in his mind, and he managed to find a way to become free of them, to eliminate them. And then he taught how to do that. He spent most of his life teaching, sharing his insights, what he had experienced, what he'd realized. And then his disciples practiced those teachings. Many of them attained realizations as well, and then they passed them down to their disciples, and so on and so on and so on. 2,600 years. It's amazing that these teachings have been kept alive all this time. Even now, in this messy world, there are lots of people, sincerely and in a dedicated way, learning and practicing these teachings and then passing them on to their disciples. So we are so fortunate that we have this chance to learn these teachings and practice these teachings, especially now in retreat, so we can kind of not do so much running around and busy work and really focus on learning and practicing these teachings, taking them to heart. But just to understand that, yeah, that's the real point of retreat, is working on our own mind and recognizing the afflictions, working on overcoming them. And also to have the right motivation. The best motivation we can have, as we all know, is bodhicitta, aspiring to become a fully enlightened Buddha for the benefit of all sentient beings. So to really remind ourselves of that again and again. Of course, we start our day with that, but during the day, to remember that, and just bring yourself back to that motivation. And in this retreat in particular, it'll be easier maybe to remember that, because one of the themes in the retreat is the 4 immeasurable thoughts: loving kindness, compassion, empathetic joy, and equanimity. And last year when Geshe Samdrup was here teaching Atisha's Lamp for the Path, he made a comment. I'd never heard this before, but I thought, wow. He said that, developing the 4 immeasurable thoughts is essential. I don't remember the exact word he used, but something like it needs to be done to develop bodhicitta. So in order to develop bodhicitta, we have to work on these 4 immeasurable thoughts. And so, working on those, reading about them, studying them, meditating on them, will really help our cultivation of bodhicitta and our maintaining the ideal motivation for why we're here, what we're doing. And having the aspiration, the motivation to become a Buddha, to help all sentient beings, is of course important to guide everything we do. But realistically, there's a lot of things we have to do. We have to work hard to get enlightened. It's not easy. And so we have to create a lot of causes and conditions. And some of those causes and conditions are purification of our non-virtue, bad karma we created in the past, and now still creating. It's hard to stop. So purification, clearing away that negative karma, negative energy. And so during retreat, there are opportunities for doing that every morning. Are you still doing 35 Buddhas in the morning? And and on your own, maybe some people will be working on some of the ngundro preliminary practices that involve purification. So, it's good on a daily basis to do some purification practices. And then another important condition for attaining enlightenment is accumulating merit, positive energy. And so in retreat, we have lots of chances to do that. Just the practices that we're doing, we are creating merit, keeping precepts, living ethically on a daily basis is creating merit. So again, there's many opportunities. And when even things like eating, the meals that we eat, the cups of tea that we drink, and so on, we offer those, then that also becomes a way of accumulating merit, positive energy. Yeah, so, and then of course the meditations, like on the 4 immeasurable thoughts, white Tara, whatever other practices you're doing, those are also creating the causes for enlightenment. So during a retreat, we have more time than usual to work on creating the actual causes for becoming enlightened to benefit all living beings. Yeah, so during a retreat, well, of course we can do these practices every day, but during a retreat, because you're focusing more on Dharma and less on other activities, then you have fewer distractions than you normally have. Fewer things that disturb the mind, although, be prepared. There will be distractions. So it's not, they're just going to suddenly stop just because you're here and you're in a retreat. But they do sort of die down, reduced. And also keeping silence as much as possible. That helps too. Not having conversations with people, because otherwise you have a conversation at lunchtime and then in your next session you're thinking about that conversation and what they said and, oh, I should have said that, and, oh, next time we meet I'm going to say that. So repeating conversations, creating conversations in our mind. So there will be fewer of that kind of distraction. Yeah. So, and then this place, of course, is a really ideal situation. Relatively quiet, about as quiet as you can get in this world. And, we're not like in the middle of town. I mean, I know people who have done retreats in the middle of a city, like Mexico City. One lady did I think it was a 1-year retreat or maybe a 3-year retreat in her apartment in the middle of Mexico City. So we can be grateful that we have such a peaceful, quiet place to do retreat. Yeah. Yeah, and so the silence, keeping silence as well as the external silence, just helps us be more aware of our mind, our thoughts, our emotions, what's going on in our mind, and that helps us recognize the afflictions. So that's, a big job we have, recognizing afflictions, negative thoughts in our mind. And then we know what we need to work on. And it's also really helpful to have other people around who are practicing like this. So again, if you were in the middle of a city, probably nobody else, none of your neighbors are going to be doing retreat. They're probably watching TV and, going to the football game and doing just totally opposite things to what we're trying to do. So it's really helpful to have a supportive community of Dharma practitioners who are really dedicated to keeping ethics and practicing the teachings and so on. So it's another benefit of this situation. Okay, so so I thought to just give a little bit of introduction to what we're going to be doing in the retreat. Is there anyone, so the main practice is white Tara. I don't know if there's anyone who hasn't done white Tara practice before. Oh, okay. I thought everyone. I would like to have copies of the red and blue prayer books, and it would be good if other people have them as well. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that before, but I thought to go through the white Tara practice. So there are 2 practices of white Tara. One is a more simple one that is in the red prayer book. 48, I think. Yeah, it's on page 48 of the Red Prayer Book. And then there's another practice of white Tara that is longer and more complicated. And that practice involves generating yourself as white Tara. And to be able to do that, you need to have received certain initiations. So I think I don't need to talk about that. I think everyone knows if you have received or not those initiations. So, so everyone is free to choose which Tara practice they would like to do. So even if you have received the initiations and you can do the longer practice, you might want to do the shorter one. So that's completely fine. You may not feel ready for that longer, more complicated one. It involves a lot of kind of complicated visualizations. So you can do the shorter one. You could also change later on. You could do the shorter one for a while, and then at a certain point you might feel like you want to do the longer one. So when it comes to the different deities in Tibetan Buddhism, now we have green Tara, we have white Tara, we have Chenrezig with 1,000 arms, Chenrezig with 4 arms, and all these other deities. Sometimes it can be overwhelming when we first encounter Tibetan Buddhism. But they're all basically the same in that they are all manifestations of enlightened mind, Dharmakaya, the Buddha's fully enlightened, fully purified mind that has the ability to manifest in any kind of form at all, and will do so for the benefit of sentient beings. So if it's beneficial, even for one sentient being, to appear in a particular form, then Buddha's mind will appear in that form, like a frog. I don't know. The Portland frog. But yeah, I mean, if that's going to benefit somebody, then Buddha will manifest in that way. But probably the most beneficial manifestations would be these deities that sort of illustrate enlightened qualities. Yeah. So it's good to understand that, to think that all these different deities, even though they're different colors and they have different, sometimes multiple arms, multiple faces, holding different things in different postures, they are all just different manifestations of enlightened mind to benefit certain sentient beings. So even if, like, there may be one form that we feel, I can't really relate to that one, but try not to have any negative attitude, like aversion. Just think there must be some sentient being that for whom that appearance is suitable, is beneficial. Because, like, in the Tara room, on the wall, there are all the different forms of 21 Tara, of Tara, the 21 Taras. And some of them are like, ooh. Okay. There must be some sentient being that is benefited by that particular manifestation. So that's a good attitude to have with regard to the different deities. But here we're just focusing on one deity, white Tara. It's a fairly simple form: 1 face, 2 hands, 2 legs. And but white Tara and green Tara and all the other Taras and all the other deities are basically the same in that they're manifestations of enlightened mind. So they have all the same qualities and realizations and abilities and so on as the others. Yeah, they all have equal realizations, equal qualities. But just the outer form is different. And the practice of white Tara is specifically for long life, to create causes for our life to be long, but you can also do it on behalf of somebody else. like it's often done for teachers. If you want your teacher to remain a long time, you can do the practice for them. But you don't have to choose. I think you can, when you're doing the white tar practice for yourself, you can also dedicate it for the long lives of our teachers, and vice versa. If you're doing it on behalf of your teacher, it will also benefit you, creating the cause for you to have a long life. And the reason for wanting to have a long life isn't to have more fun, be able to travel more, have more exciting adventures in our life, but to have more time to practice the Dharma and create the causes of enlightenment to benefit all living beings. Okay, so I'll just kind of quickly go through this shorter version of the practice. So it starts with refuge and bodhicitta, a prayer we recite frequently, but it's good, especially in retreat, to not just recite the words mindlessly, but pay attention to the words we're saying and really try to generate in our mind the attitude, the state of mind expressed by those words. So refuge, taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. And ideally, I think this should have a greater meaning to you, because over the last year or so, Venerable Children was teaching volume 4, and there's a lot of material in there about the refuge and the qualities of each of the 3 jewels of refuge. What is the ideal state of mind of refuge? So good to bring to mind what you learned during those classes and enrich your attitude of taking refuge. And then the second part of the prayer is generating bodhicitta. And it says, by the merit I create, by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, also known as the perfections, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. So there's a lot in just that one sentence. Of course, the goal, our ultimate goal of Buddhahood, to benefit all living beings, but just reminding ourselves that in order to achieve enlightenment, we need to practice the 6 perfections, giving, ethics, and so on, up to wisdom. And so those include the main practices that need to be done in order for our mind to achieve enlightened mind. And they can be summarized in method and wisdom. So those are the 2 wings of the bird for flying to enlightenment. So, to reach enlightenment, we need both method and wisdom, and just having one without the other won't work, won't bring us to enlightenment. So you can remember that while reciting this prayer, that, I need to practice method and wisdom, and the 6 perfections encapsulate those 2, method and wisdom. And then we have the prayer of the 4 immeasurables. This is a shorter version. There's also a longer version. I'll talk about that later. First I'll go through this sadhana. But that helps to enhance our feelings of love and compassion and so on for others, which are the basis for bodhicitta. We need to have great love, great compassion, and of course equanimity to be able to have actual genuine bodhicitta in our mind. And then there's the visualization of Tara. So we visualize Tara above the head, not sitting right on top, but a few inches above. And she's facing the same way as we are. So it says, the transcendental wisdom of all the Buddhas appearing as white tar. Her body is made of light. So everything in the visualization is made of light. Like, maybe helpful to think of a rainbow. When you see a rainbow in the sky, it can be really bright, but it's also transparent, nothing really solid there. You could put your hand through it. So that is how deity bodies are, made of light, bright, brilliant, radiant. And so her body is white. She has one face and two arms. And so the way her hands is similar to green tar. Actually, same as green tar. So right hand is on the right knee in the gesture of granting supreme realizations, like that. The left hand is in front of her heart, and that mudra is called refuge, mudra of refuge. So the thumb and ring finger touch, and the other three fingers are pointing up. And then she's holding the stem of a Nupala flower. She's beautiful, youthful, and unlike green tar, white tar is sitting in full lotus, or what's called the Vajra position in Tibetan Buddhism. And she has all the signs and marks of a Buddha, and 7 eyes. So this is also different from green tar. So in addition to the 2 eyes, the usual ones, there's a 3rd eye in the center of the forehead. Kind of, what's the word for that? Vertical. Vertical eye in the center of the forehead. And then on the palms of her hands and the soles of her feet, additional eyes. And so the 7 eyes, I don't know where I got this from, but anyway, it says the 7 eyes allow her to look upon all beings in every realm of existence with clear-sighted wisdom and heartfelt compassion. I don't know if there's any other significance to the 7 eyes, but yeah, she's just able to look in more directions and more beings. And yeah, so we should think of the expression on her face as one of compassion and love, like completely accepting us as we are. No judgmentalness, no hatred, no criticalness, not like looking at us with, you did that. But yeah, just complete acceptance and love, forgiveness, and being completely dedicated, like a mother, when a mother's looking at her little child, loving mother. No, she's just totally dedicated to taking care of her child, helping her child in every way so that her child will be well and happy. So it's really good to have that, make that part of your visualization. And yeah, and then with visualization, just do the best you can. Don't expect yourself to have perfect, clear visualization of every detail, like we were going through in Lama Tsongkhapa's middle-length Lamrim the other day. He said, just try to get at least a rough outline of the visualization. I mean, it's good to think about the details in the beginning, but then don't worry if they kind of fade. But try to at least have the rough outline, the rough image of the deity. And the important thing, I think, is to feel that she's there, to feel her presence with all these wonderful qualities, her wisdom, omniscient wisdom, seeing the true nature of all things, and seeing all phenomena, all beings with compassion and love and bodhicitta. So really try to feel her qualities there in the space above your head. Then at her heart is a moon disc lying flat. And standing in the center of that is the seed syllable tum. I have slides to show you later. And so the tum, it's the same seed syllable as tar, green tar. But in green tar, the tum is green. So in white tar, the tum is white. And that's the essence of her realizations. So then light goes out from the tum and brings back all the life force that has been scattered or lost. I never really heard an explanation of how that happens. But I think, I don't know, maybe there's some belief that certain beings, certain mischievous, nasty beings, spirits can take away our life force. So we're bringing it back. Tara is bringing it back. And that dissolves into the tum in the form of light. So you just imagine any life force that may have been lost comes back and dissolves into the tum. Then again, light rays go out and brings back the power and inspiration of all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and those who have attained the realization of long life. So again, all that power and energy comes back in the form of light, dissolves into the tum. And along with that, the essence of the four elements of earth, water, fire, and air, and the space element come in the form of 5-colored nectar light: white, yellow, red, green, and blue. So the 4 elements are the basis for all physical, all material things, including our own body, but also all the material things in the world around us. There's this belief that all material things, all physical things are made of these 4 elements: earth, water, fire, wind. And then the space element isn't part of physical, it's non-physical. But it allows things to move. If there was no space, we couldn't move. Yeah, we'd all be like stuck against each other. So it allows movement and allows things to happen. And then each of those 4 elements is associated with a different color. I think usually earth is yellow. I think water is white, huh? White. Fire, of course, red. Air is green, and then blue. Space is blue. So those 5 colors are the colors of the 5 elements. So anyway, imagine all of that coming and absorbing into the tum. Then you mentioned from the tum, light and nectar now come into you through the top of your head, fill your body, and this dispels negative karma, disturbing attitudes, attachment, aversion, jealousy, all of those negative emotions, disease, interferences, dangers of untimely death. So any possible causes that we may have to die in an untimely way before we've lived out our lifespan. So those are purified. And you imagine all that stuff going out, like if Vajrasattva, going out of the lower orifices and your pores as well, like dirty liquid. And your body becomes pure and clear. Your mind, too, becomes clear and blissful. So while doing that visualization, then you can recite the mantra. So here we can have the slides up. So this book doesn't explain the meaning of the mantra, but maybe some of you know it, but in case you don't, there's an explanation of the specific words, syllables of the mantra. Om Tare Tuture Ture Mama Ayo Punya Jnana. Well, Tibetans say jnana. I don't know what you have learned, jnana, but Tibetans say jnana. So I got into that habit. Okay, so here's the meaning of the mantra. So Om, usually at the beginning of every mantra, and it represents enlightened body, speech, and mind. The body, speech, and mind of an enlightened being, in this case, Tara. So this is what we aspire to attain, our goal. And then Tare, so the term Tare means liberate. And there's several Tares, or different versions of Tares. So the first Tare, well, this is one explanation. One explanation of the mantra is that the first Tare means liberating from obstacles to the initial level of the path. So that refers to the Lamrim. So within the Lamrim, there are these three divisions: the initial stage, the middling stage, the great stage. So the initial stage is where we meditate on. The purpose of the initial stage is to develop concern about future lives and not just be focused on this present life, but thinking, okay, this life is going to end, I'm going to die, my mind will go on and take another life, another rebirth. I really want to make sure that I go to a good situation, not a bad one, not one of the unfortunate realms. So basically it's about, how to live your life so you don't send yourself to the hell or hungry ghost realm or animal realm, but live your life in a way that you'll have another precious human life in the next life, or go to a pure land or some good situation where you'll be able to continue practicing Dharma. So that's the essence of the initial level, those different meditations like on death and impermanence and the sufferings of the unfortunate realms, refuge and karma. So those, we want to get those realizations in our mind so that we live our life accordingly. So the first Tare then clears away any obstacles we may have to getting those realizations. Then there's two Tare, and that also means liberating, but liberating from obstacles to the middle level of the path. So there we go further and realize that even in a good rebirth, even if we have good rebirths in samsara, we're still in samsara. We still have suffering. We're not free of suffering. And so we generate renunciation, the determination to be free of samsara, and then practice what we need to do to get out, which is basically the three higher trainings: ethics, concentration, and wisdom. So those are the main topics of the and middling level of the path. So we need to get those realizations as well. So the second Tare, two Tare, clears away obstacles to getting those realizations. Then the third, it says Ture, but that's also another form of liberate. And this is liberating from obstacles to the great level of the path. So that's where we have bodhicitta, generating bodhicitta, and then the 6 perfections. So that's our goal in the Mahayana. Our goal is to go all the way to enlightenment so that we can help all living beings be free of samsara. So we want to generate those states of mind, bodhicitta, the desire to become enlightened, practicing the 6 perfections, and so on. So the third Tare then clears away obstacles to those realizations. And then we have Mama. It's not Mamma Mia. It means my or mine. And then Ayur is life, long life. So my life. And then Punye is merit, ethics. So living ethically. And then Jnana, wisdom, transcendental wisdom, Yeshi in Tibetan. And Putim, Tibetans usually say Pushtim. In the book it says Pushtim. When they write Sanskrit mantras in Tibetan letters, they have all these different kind of configurations. So there's actually a Sha in there. And I think it's probably not supposed to be pronounced in Sanskrit, but the Tibetans say it. So they have interesting ways of reciting Sanskrit mantras. So, but I think it should be putyam, but you can also say pushtim, because that's what the lamas usually say. So if you've received an initiation from a lama, they probably said pushtim. So you can choose if you want to say that or not. So that means increase. And then kuru, I didn't find an explanation. My guess is it's like, please, please do this. And then soha also comes at the end of many mantras. And it's said to have the meaning or significance of, may the meaning of the mantra take root in my mind. May it remain firm in my mind. So the whole mantra altogether, oh, I thought I had the whole thing. Yeah, so we're basically asking Tara to help us be free from obstacles to achieving those realizations of the path, the initial, middling, and great stages of the path. Plus, on top of that, to please increase my lifespan, my merit, and my exalted wisdom, transcendental wisdom. So please help those increase so that I can reach your state of enlightenment. And it's said that if you want to do this practice on behalf of somebody else, such as your Lama, like or His Holiness Tenzin Gyatso, then you would put their name in place of Mama. So instead of Mama, you would say the name of that teacher. Is that what Venerable has said? Oh, Guru. Oh, okay. Okay, maybe there's different ways of doing it. So you would say, Om Tari Tutari Ture Guru Ayur Punni Jnana Pushnagurya. But I think here you can just say Mama. Okay, so that's the meaning of the mantra. And then the next slide just shows, I was trying to find a picture of the Tom on a moon disk, but I couldn't. This is as best I could find. So that's what Tom looks like in Tibetan. But if, of course, you want to use TAM, if you don't know how to visualize Tibetan, you can just visualize that in the middle of the moon disk. So you recite the White Tara mantra 21 times. Then, the next page, recite the usual Tara mantra, Om Tari Tutari Turi Soha. I think in the longer practice, you mainly recite the White Tara mantra. Yeah. I never quite understood why. If it's a White Tara practice, why do we only recite a few, relatively few, White Tara mantras and then mostly Green Tara? I don't know. But anyway, that's how it was written. So, yeah, you can do as many mantras as you like. And then when you finish reciting the mantra, then you think and feel, I am liberated from all negative karma, afflictions, negative emotions, disease, interferences, and dangers of untimely death. I will use my life in a meaningful way to transform my mind, develop love, compassion, and the 6 far-reaching practices, and act in ways that benefit others, myself, and our environment. So it doesn't mention tar dissolving into you. You can just leave her there all day long. Yeah, I haven't really received, as far as I can remember, I haven't received a commentary on this particular meditation. I think it does come from Lama Zopa Rinpoche. And there are different versions of Tara practice, so there's longer and more complicated, but this is just one simple one. And then there's dedication prayers, dedication of merit.
I want to go out on a limb too far because I can't say with absolute fact, but I'm pretty sure Venerable Children has taught that to go ahead and do the dissolution as we know, as we normally do.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure she's said that a few times.
Yeah, because people have been watching videos of her teaching this practice. Did she say that? To visualize
I don't think we've
tar
gotten that
dissolving
far.
into you. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. I mean, that's what we normally do in these kind of practices. Let me just check. I have. Yeah, so there's a short one from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but it doesn't dissolve. Yeah. So I'm looking at ones from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, and they don't mention dissolving. But yeah, since other practices do involve that, then it makes sense to do it. And in the longer practice, there's dissolution. Okay. So any other questions about that practice?
So I've heard that if you do not have an initiation, then you do a front visualization. But this seems to be like a top visualization.
Well, it's similar with Vajrasattva. You have Vajrasattva above your head, not in front of
But
you.
there is no front visualization then?
Sorry?
There is no front visualization then?
In this practice?
Yeah.
No. I mean, when you're doing the prayer of refuge and bodhicitta at the beginning, I think, ideally, you do visualize the refuge objects in the space in front of you while taking refuge, generating bodhicitta, and then they dissolve into light, absorb into you. That's how it's normally done when you have that kind of practice. And then you visualize Tara above. But no, there's not always a front generation involved in deity practices. Some yes, some not. Also, I remember there was one retreat I did. It was another deity called Mitrukpa, and it also had you visualize above your head. I was leading a group of people doing this, and some people had difficulty visualizing above their head. It is hard. It's harder than, in front of you. And I checked with Rinpoche, and he said, yeah, you can visualize in front as well. So it could be the same with white tar. If you find it easier to visualize white tar in front of you, then you can do that. But then I guess when it comes to the light coming in, it would be a little more awkward. It has to come through space into you. Not impossible, But yeah. But anyway, that was one occasion where people were told they could visualize the deity in front if it's easier for them. Robin.
Thank you. I'm surprised that there's no seven-limb prayer and the mandala offering, which seems to be quite ubiquitous in the sadhanas. And I'm just curious, why not?
It is a short practice. Yeah, it is a abbreviated practice. So there are such things as, very short practices. I mean, you can always add them. There's nothing wrong with adding the 7 limbs and mandala offering. Yeah, you can do that. So I think in the first few days the meditations will be guided, and then after that you're on your own to do it. So when you're doing it on your own, then feel free to do that. The longer practice does have lots more prayers, right? Lots more things. Yeah. Vadeki.
So if we want to make this a purification practice, is it good to intentionally think of the 4 powers?
Because so it does say that when you visualize the light and nectar flowing down into you, that it clears up your negative karma. So of course it'll be much more effective if you can actually remember what negative karma you've done and you want to clear up. So yeah, you could pause there and just bring to mind the things you want to purify. Because they say when we do purification practice, usually it's done with Vajrasattva or with 35 Buddhas, but you can use any deity, any mantra. So of course, my Tara is able to purify the bad karma as well. So yeah, you could do that. Yeah, and any specific disturbing attitudes, negative emotions that you want to get rid of, clear away. So imagine those, think of those and imagine them going out. Yeah, it's very similar to Vajrasattva. The light and nectar flowing down and then that negative energy going out of us and disappearing, becoming non-existent, your body becoming like crystal. Yeah, that's really beautiful. Tim?
Venerable, while purifying, sometimes it seems like whatever I'm purifying will come up stronger, like in the next few days or so. Is that something you've encountered before?
Yeah, I think so. I can't remember specifically, but it does make sense because, if you're focusing on a particular negative action you did or habitual tendency you have and feeling, oh, I really want to purify this, your mind is naturally more attentive to that. And so, just doing one practice isn't going to clear all that negative energy away. It does take time. That's why, 100,000 Vajrasattva mantras. Doing the same practice again and again and again. So, yeah, it takes time to clear all those things away. So, I think, instead of being discouraged, I remember having that experience, being discouraged. I want to get rid of this. Why is it still there? Just to understand, okay, it takes time and it's helpful to notice it. We need to see it so that we can realize how much work we need to do and have that energy to keep working on it, keep practicing it. So try not to let the mind become discouraged or get into what sometimes happens, like beating yourself up, criticizing yourself, thinking you're horrible. Try not to have those kind of attitudes because they're counterproductive. I mean, they happen, but at least notice them and see that as something to purify as well. You know, just like it isn't nice to always be critical and judgmental of others, it's not nice to do that with ourselves. And then we're doing love and compassion, the 4 measurables. So we also need to include ourselves when we're cultivating love and compassion. So don't leave yourself out of those meditations.
I think it just says a lot about our minds is that when we first got our Prius, I saw every Prius on the highway that was ever looked that color. And when we got Henrietta, every Ford 250 that was on the highway appeared. I mean, you just saw them, because it was in the mind. So the power of the mind, you have an affliction and I'm over this affliction, and you bring it up. It's like washing this dirty cloth. You're going to get the gross stuff, but it's still dirty. The power of the mind to see things more and more clearly and up in front and center. So I think it's kind of the same attention, the same level of this strange kind of attention. Mm-hmm. I still see them. Now, years later. Turquoise Priuses.
Yeah, there's another one around. I parked right next to it.
One in Newport.
Health center.
Which one's mine? Anyway, just that thought puts my mind at ease, because familiarity is one of the mind's greatest characteristics.
Yeah. MG. It's not on. Maybe the batteries.
At the grief retreat, I think in 2024, you had mentioned that White Torah was a good practice as the antidote to grief, and taking that and applying that has been really helpful. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I don't remember saying that, but
it's in my notes.
I have to look at my notes. That was 2 years ago. But yeah, maybe I did find that somewhere. Okay, good. Yeah.
It seems like there's many places we could stop to do concentration meditation in this practice. Where would you recommend? And even if we, I guess kind of like following on from Chuni's question from Thursday, like if we do bring up the refuge field in front at the start, before we dissolve that into us, we could even do concentration meditation on the Buddha, if that's our main practice, or the breath, before we really start the White Tara practice to stabilize the mind. Or do it on White Tara, or...
Yeah, I did want to, after Thursday, I was thinking that I wanted to, what I said wasn't completely correct, because I said that when you want to develop concentration, like shamatha, you focus on that, you do a retreat on that. And then I realized, well, that's maybe according to sutra, but in Tantra, you cultivate shamatha within the context of your deity practice. And I suppose if someone really wants to go for shamatha, they would have a deity, like their yidam, their main deity, and they would probably go into retreat and really, do that practice 4 times a day. And then within the sadhana, after you're visualizing the deity and whatever else is to be visualized, then you're supposed to stop and spend time cultivating shamatha, cultivating your concentration on that visualization. So they say that's how you cultivate shamatha in the context of Tantra and deity practice. You do it on your deity. So yeah. So I just wanted to mention that. So here, it's up to each person. I think you could choose. I don't think there's a fixed way of doing it. If you consider White Tara as your main deity, and you really want to cultivate shamatha in relation to White Tara, then you could stop and do that. Or if you want to cultivate it with Shakyamuni Buddha, like you say, and when you're visualizing the refuge objects in front of you. You could spend some time doing that. So I think it's, yeah. But realistically, to cultivate shamatha, you really do have to spend time focusing on that, and not just like one session a day, or in the meantime doing other things. So it is hard work, and putting aside other activities. So I mean, it's unlikely that anyone would achieve shamatha in this retreat. It's possible, it might happen, but you can at least be working on it, training your mind to stay focused on your object of meditation, whatever that may be. I did want to get on to the other main theme of the retreat, which is the 4 immeasurables, and I think everyone should be familiar with those. And so there's quite a bit of material that you can read and reflect on and bring into your meditation. This book, volume 5, called In Praise of Great Compassion, is great. The first chapter of this book is about the 4 immeasurables, both in the Pali tradition. There's a lot of material in the Pali tradition about these that we don't normally hear from our Tibetan teachers. That's very helpful. And it also goes into the Mahayana, how it's explained in Mahayana. So I think there are copies of this is it in the Kuan Yin room? Or you may have your own copy. And then there's also a book by me called Awakening the Kind Heart, which has a chapter on each of the 4 immeasurables. And I tried to explain it in just practical ways. And I added meditations for each one that you could try. So there's copies of that also in the Kuan Yin room. And there's a book by Sharon Salzberg, probably one of the first. I don't know when it came out, a long time ago. It's been around a long time. It's really beautiful. It's called Loving Kindness, The Revolutionary Art of Happiness. And she did quite a bit I don't remember how much time she spent, but quite a bit of time, months, just focusing on loving kindness. So she talks about her experiences and tells stories, and it's very, very helpful. She does talk about the other 3 immeasurables as well, but it's mainly about loving kindness. And there's a book by Alan Wallace. I think we have at least one copy. If you found it.
In the guest library, I'm not sure if residents have it, but I couldn't find Awakening the Kind Heart or the Alan Wallace book. So if you have it, let's return it so I guess can have it, or I'll bring more copies over from the main library. But we did have copies in the guest library.
Okay.
They'll be there later.
But anyway, maybe you don't need so many different books. One book, 1 or 2 books might be enough to get material. So I think each person can choose how they want to meditate on the 4 immeasurables. So one way would be to use the short version of the prayer, like the one we recited at the beginning today. And so I'm quite familiar with that. So the first line is about love, wishing all beings to have happiness in its causes. Second is compassion, wishing them to be free of suffering in its causes. Third is empathic joy, or it's often called sympathetic joy, wishing all sentient beings to not be separated from sorrowless bliss. And that mainly involves being happy for others' happiness. It's the opposite of jealousy and envy, resentment, but happy that others are doing well and having good fortune and all these kind of things. And then last is equanimity. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So you could use that prayer as the basis for your meditations. And one way to do it might be to, spend a couple of days focusing on one of the 4 immeasurables, like loving kindness. spend a couple of days on that and then move on to the next one. Or each day go through all four, do one session on love, another session on compassion, and so on. So you can, play around and see what way works best for you. And there's also a longer version of the prayer that if you have, well, you don't have the red prayer book, but it's in the practice of Thousand Arm Chenrezig on page 2 of this book. So, so with this longer prayer, each of the four immeasurables has 4 lines, and this is just immeasurable equanimity. It starts with that. It starts with equanimity. So it says, how wonderful it would be if all sentient beings were to abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. So that is a wish. It's like wishing how wonderful that would be if everyone could have equanimity. The next sentence is, may they abide in this way. So that is an aspiration. So it's going a bit further than just wishing it. Yeah, I really want that to happen. And then the next sentence is, I shall cause them to abide in this way. So here you're getting even more involved. I'm going to do something about this. I want to make this happen. So that's called resolution. I'm resolving to do that myself. The last line is requesting help from the deity. I put Tara's name here. Guru Tara, please inspire me to be able to do so. So help me, Tara, to make this reality, to help sentient beings have equanimity. And so that formula or format, it goes for all the 4 immeasurables. So you might want to use that as the basis. And again, take one at a time and meditate on it and really try to cultivate those 4 states of mind. And there is more explanation in the volume 5 about this longer prayer and why equanimity comes first in one and last in the other. There's nothing contradictory there. They're just different ways of different approaches, different emphases. So, yeah, we're coming to the end of this period. But I thought that for the Vajrasattva retreat, and that's not coming up for another couple of weeks, but I would give talks about the 4 immeasurables. There's a lot of wonderful information about those 4. And between now and then, you're on your own. But there's plenty of material, yeah? I'm sure you've heard plenty of teachings from Venerable Children about the 4 and how to cultivate them. And you might also want to just mainly focus on one, like equanimity. That's a good one to focus on because, like they say, if we don't have equanimity, we're working on cultivating love, compassion, but we'll do so in a biased way. We'll say, oh yeah, I love these people, I want them to be happy, but that one, and oh, I don't want them to be happy. So equanimity is very, very important to avoid that danger. The ideal is when we cultivate love and compassion, we do so across the board without any bias or discrimination. But of course that's hard to do, very, very hard to do. But we can work on it. There's a lot of wonderful methods for making our mind, evening out our mind and reducing our attachment and our aversion and gradually making our mind more equanimous towards others. So that's just a brief talk about the retreat and what you're meant to do. But yeah, I think most people should know what to do, how to do it. That if you do have difficulties or questions, I'm here, Venerable Jigme's here, Venerable Children's coming back. Well, not until after Vajrasattva, but anyway, she'll be back eventually. And we still have a few days before going into silence, complete silence, so you can try to clear up any questions you may have. So we'll stop there and dedicate the merit, the positive energy, sharing it with all sentient beings. May we soon attain the awakened state of white Tara, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind, not yet born, arise and grow. May the born have no decline, but increase.